We are going to be talking about the four forces. Let's talk about the first one. The first force is the strong nuclear. The strong nuclear force. How can we describe this? To describe this, we can say it is experienced by the neutrons, by the neutrons and protons. The strong nuclear force is experienced by the neutrons and protons because it's normally repelled by same charges. So it's a strong nuclear force. It is experienced by neutrons and protons. What is the relative strength? The relative strength is 1, and the range is the diameter of the nucleus, and that is 10 to the minus 15 meters. That is number 1. Let's do number 2. Number two is the electromagnetic force. Let's just ignore the force. So electromagnetic force, these are all forces. Electromagnetic force, what is it experienced by? It is experienced by moving or static charges. It is experienced this. Moving static charges experience this. What is the relative strength? The relative strength is 10 to the minus 3. So it's 1,000 times smaller than the strong nuclear. What is the range? The range is infinite. So it has infinite range. Number 3, let's talk about number 3. So number 3 is the weak nuclear force. Number 3, weak nuclear force. The weak nuclear force is weaker than the electromagnetic, and it is weaker than the strong nuclear. Now, it is responsible for beta decay. So it's responsible for beta decay. What is the range? The range for this is 10 to the minus 18 meters. And what's the relative strength? The relative strength is 1,000 times smaller than this. So the relative strength is equal to 10 to the minus 6. And the fourth, which is the weakest is gravity. So the gravitational force is the weakest. So the gravitational, why am I adding force there? Okay, so the gravitational force is the weakest. So all mass, anything that has mass will create a gravitational field. So any mass will create a gravitational field. What's the range? The range is infinite. And what is the relative strength? The relative strength is 10 to the minus 40. 10 to the minus 40. 10 to the minus 40. Okay, so let's quickly go through it. The first one is the strong nuclear. It is experienced by neutrons or protons because it's normally repelled by the same charge. The relative strength, assuming that that's the strongest, it is 1. And the range is 10 to the minus 15 meters. The next force is the electromagnetic. I'm speaking very quickly. It is experienced by moving static charges. The relative strength is 1,000 times smaller than that one, which is 10 to the minus 3, and the range is infinite. Number 3, the weak nuclear. It is responsible for beta decay. The range is 10 to the minus 80 meters, and the relative strength is 10 to the minus 6. So that is 1,000 times smaller than the electromagnetic, and a further 1,000 times smaller than the strong nuclear. And the fourth one is gravitational. The gravitational, it is the weakest force. The gravitational field is produced whenever there is mass, and it has infinite range, and the relative strength is 10 to the minus 40.